Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to 2024. Today I'm going to do my December wrap up. I read 12 books in the month of December and I only have one physical book to show you. Let's just dive right in. I had a good reading month. I finished the 100 book challenge. I read 100 books in 2023. I'm so happy. Not going to be doing it again, but I'm just really glad I made it. So let me know down below if you believed I was actually going to do it. The first book I read was an audiobook, and that is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This book is about two women who meet each other because they both have a birthday dinner at the same time. And then one lady makes a podcast about women who tell their stories about like abuse and stuff. And then the other woman listens to that and is like, oh my god, I need to get on this podcast. So she gets in contact with her birthday twin, as they call each other, and she starts to tell her story. This book, I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I listened to it as an audiobook, so you actually hear like sounds of the podcast and just like little songs and stuff, and it's so much fun. Really eerie as well, because it's a thriller, and I just really liked it. I love thrillers that are not your typical murderer, everyone's a murderer, blah blah blah. I like it very much. So I'm definitely going to be reading from her again, because this was a very pleasant surprise. And then I listened to Tomb Sweeping by Alexandra Chang, also as an audiobook. I like 3 of the stories. All the other stories I didn't really care about, so I gave it 3 stars. It's a short story collection about Asian American woman. I just didn't really connect with the stories that much, and some of the stories I like, but then it's like over in like an hour, and then you go on to the other story that you don't care about. So it's like, I don't recommend it. Then I listened to Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. This was a harder thriller book. I cannot say much about it because it needs to be a secret going in, but it's basically about a marriage. But it was dark. There's some dark stuff in there that like is ugh. So I'm just gonna say 2 words as a trigger warning. A dog, a person with Down syndrome. Yeah, it was I don't know, it was pretty hard to like stomach. Even though I'm really used to thrillers, I'm not like scared. I was not scared, but it was just like really like made me feel uneasy. And for that, I gave it 3.5 stars, because I'm not saying it's not a good book, but my enjoyment was not really there, because it like really made me sad. So yeah. And then I read the final book in the Pretty Liars series, Vicious. I gave it 3.5 stars. I did actually read that one physical, but I sold it, so that's why it's not here. I gave 3.5 stars. It was exciting. I thought the plot twist was different, so that this book could still plot twist me is cool. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just really glad the series is over, but it wasn't really fun to tie in my childhood. Not my childhood, my teenage years, when I started reading this series and watching the show, and yeah, full circle moment having finished it. I cannot say much about what happens in it, but if you know Pretty Liars, it's about that. Then the next book I read or listened to is Word Slot by Amanda Montell. I gave it 3 stars. It's nonfiction. She just talks about the English language, American English language, and how a lot of like insults that are like about being queer or being a woman, where they come from and stuff like that. So I learned some interesting things, but I also felt like I could have just read an article. Like I didn't need to read an entire book about it. That's my problem with like nonfiction, is like, do I need to read an entire book about a subject that's kind of interesting? You know, because like it's very like American English based, and I'm not even American, I'm not even English, so it's like, you know. But okay, it was fun, I guess. Reread nonfiction. It's good to shake things up. And then I listened to Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. I gave 3.5 stars. This book I listened to as an audiobook as well. And it starts on a night in her son, the woman's son, kills someone in front of the door. And then she wakes up the day before or a day back further in the past, and she kind of like wants to change the future basically. And it was really exciting at first, but then it just dragged on a little bit, so that's why I gave 3.5 stars. It's still fun though, but I don't know, it kind of lost my interest halfway through a little bit, so you know, not my favorite. Then I read Violet Bent Backwards Over the Grass by Lana Del Rey. I've had this book for a few years. I've read most of the poems, but I never just read it all through in one sitting, so I decided to do that so I could finally count it as read. And yeah, I love Lana Del Rey. Like, she's my everything, and she really loves this work, and I'm so happy for her that she loves it. I gave it 4 stars. I'm not gonna give it 5 stars just because it's Lana Del Rey. I do think her music is better. I still really enjoy hearing her voice. She has a very interesting view on things that I love, and I love definitely like reading this out loud. So you can listen to her read it. I would have definitely done that. Sometimes do it on Spotify. There are like a few poems on there, and I just love it. But I definitely enjoy the poetry more when I read it out loud, because the way things sound is very Lana Del Rey in the best way possible. So yeah. Then I listened to Finding Me by Viola Davis. This is a memoir, and this is so dark. Like, it starts off in her childhood, and she's like living in the most awful situations, and it's really hard to read that and know that that actually happened and that people may still live in those circumstances. It really scares me. So I don't really like reading a memoir like this, so I didn't. I definitely didn't feel good reading this book, so I wouldn't like recommend it. It was very like real and personal, but it made me feel so bad for the world. Like, it's really sad. It's really sad. If you want to see a flip through of my reading journal, definitely check out my other channel. My journal is also linked in the description. Then I read Foster by Claire Keegan. This is a very short book about a girl who gets fostered for a little bit and then returns home. And I did like it. I gave it 3.5 stars. But it's kind of like a discussion, like in the reviews, on people who see like a deeper thing to it, and then people are like rating it low, being like, what is the deeper thing? And I'm kind of in between, because I'm like, I feel that it's good, but I cannot really say why. So, you know, maybe one day when I know more about literature, I can like figure it out. But right now I'm just like, okay, I do appreciate what's going on here. I also like understand that people don't understand it. It's like I'm right in between, but it's good. If you want to read a short story, I would definitely recommend that. Then I read Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. I gave it also 3.5 stars. This is a short story collection, and they're kind of like horror stories a little bit. And I really enjoyed them. Again, made me really sad, like kids living on the street. Like, I know that I live in a very privileged country where things like that don't happen. And I know it does happen, but I like to like not think about it too much because I'm already sad enough as it is. But then these books just remind me of how bad the world is, and that makes me sad. It makes me worried. But yeah, I did really like it. It did like freak me a little. Like, there are like some scary stories in there, but it was really good. I would definitely read from her again, because she knows what's up. She can write. Then I listened to The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. I gave it 3 stars. While I was listening to it, I was enjoying it, but it definitely felt like the tip of the iceberg. It definitely felt like there was not much personality in it. She also doesn't narrate it, and I think that's very unfortunate. I feel like if you were telling your own story, narrating it adds so much to it. I just felt like with the whole Free Britney thing, like I'm really like, I love like reading about how it went down and what was actually like the censorship. It's not, what do you call it? I forgot the word for it. But like the thing going on with Free Britney and how that worked, because I didn't really understand how it worked. I was like, is she like like blackmailed. Like I didn't really know what to see in my head when I heard about it, so I learned a little bit more about it, but I just felt like it could have been the best book ever if she just actually like wrote down every little thing. Like it was more of like facts thrown in there. It's not like deep anecdotes or whatever, and it could have been really, really good. Learned some things. Justin Timberlake, looking at you. But yeah, it was a good experience to read about it, but I just felt like there's so much more to tell about her. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's the thing with celebrity memoirs, I guess. Not with all of them, but like in this case. Then I listened to The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This book is about a woman who's like in a like remote house sitting, and she writes a bad review about a book, and then that author is coming for her. And I heard so many great things about this book that I really wanted to read it, but I was not really connecting with it, because the thing is, she like gives the book 1 star because it's a thriller, and she just writes down it's unrealistic that she doesn't have a phone, or the cops can come, or she doesn't have a car. Like she writes in a review all the things that are not realistic about it, and then the author is like, I'll prove you it's realistic, and then everything happens. And it's just like, I feel like without reading the book, I knew just as much about the book as I do now, because it's pretty like obvious. So like the first few chapters were like super good, like whoa, fun, let's get into it. But then it's trying to be satire, but it just makes it feel like you just told us everything that's going to happen in this book, and then it happened. It lacked the nuance, it lacked the like surprise. I mean, it had a lot of like twists and turns, but like so many that you're already like desensitized to it, so it's like it doesn't really matter. I don't know. It didn't quite reach the potential. I love No Exit by Taylor Adams. That one was super thrilling, so I gave the 3.2 star. Then the last book I read, I've been reading for a long time, and that's because it's so bad. I'm sorry, I'm gonna offend people. It's Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. Okay, let me explain why I even read this book. I bought Magnolia Parks from someone, and that person was like, oh, I also have part 2, Daisy Hates. Do you want it? And I was like, well, okay. Normally, I would say never do that, because you don't know if you're gonna like the first one, so you don't know if you're gonna like the second one. But okay, I read the first one, I was like, wow, this is bad, but I gave it like 3 stars because it was like kind of like drama. Like it had a lot of drama that was interesting, and I loved the like celebrity aspect of it. I mean, I didn't love it. I didn't love it at all, but it was like fine. You know, it was fine. I read it in the sun. It was okay time. And now I was like, well, I've heard Daisy Hates is the more popular one. Don't know if that's true. I was like, let's get into it. But it was just so bad. I don't want to say I hate it, but I do hate myself for reading it. I just cringed so hard. It was so bad. It's just, I also don't love these characters, like these male characters. They're not good. They don't make any sense. And it's also like this whole thing about, oh, he's in love with someone else, and you know that, and then all of a sudden you know it again, but you already knew it, and you're like, oh my god, oh my. If this is dark romance, I don't want it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. That was my last book of the year. Talk about ending it off with a bummer, but yeah, I sold it. It's no longer in my possession, so that's great. And those were all the books I read in December. So the book that was really a hit was the first book, None of This Is True. And of course, I love the poetry book. And some of the others were cool too. But yeah, I've decided to change my reading goal for this year to 80 books, so I can just read whenever I want to, not feel like going crazy at the end of the year. And I think I'll be able to just do it. And I'm just gonna read the books I really want to read, and not just read a bunch of books I'm not really interested in. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please know that I respect your opinions on books, so please do the same with me. I might hate your favorite book. I'm sorry. So yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I would love to see you next time. Bye!